Oh, there I am. It helps when you remember to turn on the body pack, right? Hey, welcome to Basic. I'm glad you're here. If you haven't figured it out already, we're pretty much this week, we're talking about like a year in review, just all of the things that we've done over the last year as a church. This is probably one of my favorite messages to do because I'm a numbers guy. By trade, my focus is numbers. I look at metrics all day long. I look at big data and just digest it and try and pull out the things that are important in all of the data that we do. And we have this thing called a dashboard, right? Some people call it an instrument cluster, right? So we have gauges, right? All of those gauges they're measurement devices, right? Now, do we necessarily need to know the ranges on some of these things, right? So you've got, some of them, okay, this one does. I used to have a car that had it told you what the coolant temperature was, but didn't actually have, this one shows you what the temperature is. How many of you care what the temperature is of your coolant? Okay. This one didn't bother telling you. It was German, and the Germans are like, no, you don't need to know that. Right? You just need to know that it falls within this acceptable range. And I had this car, and this car, the water pump failed, right? So the water pump circulates your coolant around the engine. And it didn't tell me the range. It just had a gauge that the needle moved. Didn't tell you how hot was too hot. Didn't tell you how cold was too cold. But the needle would move. It was make sure that it was in the operating range of it. And so it had that. And then when it got too hot, these things would come on and start flashing, right, all over the place on here. It'd start flashing what my dad would call idiot lights. Because, you can see the range is going up and it's getting in the red, and you haven't done anything about it, and now it's going to start flashing at you, and you'll be like, hey, pay attention, dummy. And so my dad called them idiot lights, but I had this car, and the water pump started going. And so I'm driving to work on Route 3. Route 3 is, right, not necessarily the best, and it's summertime, so I'm driving on Route 3, and if I went over 50 miles an hour, which in the morning commute is really hard to do, but if I went over 50 miles an hour, all of a sudden the temperature would go like this. If I turned my AC on, temperature would go. Turn off the AC. It's summer. Summertime is hot, miserable. But if I stayed under 40, all of a sudden the temperature would come back down. And if I sped up again, come right back up. And the idiot lights would start flashing at me, and it would just kind of tell me there's a problem. There's something wrong with the car. And so I had to actually put some faith into those gauges that it was telling me something was an issue and go and figure out from there what the problem was. And it's the same way we do it here, right? We have gauges as a church. We put faith in other people that they're doing the things they're supposed to do, but we're paying attention to the gauges and what's going on so that we know, kind of figure out how to read the gauges, how to read what's going on in our church. Even in there's some other applications. How many of you put faith in other people's ability to read gauges? Okay, nobody's going to be honest. Okay, how many of you have ever been on an airplane? Okay, so some of you have put your faith in someone else's ability to read gauges, right? My day job, one of the things I work on is this thing called an instrument landing system. What that does is in bad weather, like we have today, how many of you could see more than 500 feet in front of you on your drive to church this morning? Okay? So this thing will get your pilot 50 feet off the ground and 700 feet from the end of the runway before they have to decide if they're going to land or go around and find another airport. Okay? So right? So how many of you have ever landed in bad weather on an airplane? Okay? You're welcome. But we put faith in other people that they know how to read the gauges. So we put a lot of faith and trust in our instruments and paying attention to what's going on around us. And so at church, we're no different. One of the things that we do here in our church was we check, we have different gauges for different aspects. We look at both vertical and horizontal growth. All right, so what vertical growth is on a Sunday morning, there's a certain number of people here one week, there's a certain number of people here the next week, a certain number of people. So we check just in a thing, whether it's in our farmland, our nursery, our just people in here, we're checking how many people are here in a thing week over week, month over month, and just seeing, is that thing growing? Okay, so we're just trying to see, hey, are we reaching more people? And again, it's not just about numbers, but every one of those numbers has a soul attached to it. Okay, so we're not just like, oh, we just need more numbers. Okay, but we're checking, is a thing growing? Is something that we're doing growing? Are there more people involved in each thing? And then horizontally are you moving along your faith path? Okay, so are you coming to church? How many people are coming to church on a Sunday morning? How many people are involved in a circle? How many people are involved in serving? How many people are giving? So we check those things and see, are you moving along that faith journey? So are you growing spiritually? So we're checking how many people are moving along that path. And so that's what I mean when I talk about vertical is comparing a thing to a thing, and horizontally, are you moving through that faith journey? Are you growing? And so one of the things I looked at is we look at, here we are at the end of the year. It's the 29th today? All right, sure. All right, good. Sure. Sounds good. And so we're looking at the end of the year. We're like, okay, how have we done this year? How was 2024? And so we looked at a lot of the metrics. And so we are kind of organized as different, what we call C's. So we have different areas that focus on. So one of those is our C1 team, which focuses on outreach, reaching out to the community, trying to get people in. And so our C1 team this past year, they had 4 blood drives in our building. So 4 different times that they've reached out. They had a felt need in the community for people to donate blood. We opened our building up and said, hey, you know what, use us. It's a facility. We've got people driving by on 3A. It's an awesome place. We did 2 last year. We did 4 this past year because the Red Cross came in and said, this is an awesome facility. We'd love to come back again. So we've had 4 of those kind of community events of just we're going to meet a real need in the community. We had 25 people helping out on Clean Up, Green Up. Right? Okay, it's a community event. We go and we try and make Billerica look pretty. And so we picked up trash, and the area that they gave us this, like they seem to always give us a bigger and bigger area every year. The area they gave us this year, we ran out of trash bags. We did before we ran out of trash. Not saying it's a good problem to have, but that's a good thing. Like we showed up in force, and the people who run Clean Up Green Up are like, yeah, the Blue Army is here because we all show up in our Bay State swag. And they're like, yep, the Blue Army's here, and we're cleaning up, and they just love having us there. And they go on and post all over their social media stuff about what an awesome job we do and how encouraging it is to see us be involved in the community, right? We had about 40 people at Yankee Doodle Parade, despite the rain and the cold. And we hand out, again, meet a felt need, although that wasn't so much of a need this year. People, with the rain and cold, not as many people wanted water. Normally it's very hot, but we show up and we just hand out water and go through and just again, meet a need that people have. And so they start to kind of remember us. We had 2 movie nights. Again, we opened up the church, said, hey, we're gonna pay for the rights to show a movie and advertise, so we have just community events to come in. People can bring their families, and we're going to watch a movie. I don't remember what the first one was, but for Elf, we had Santa, so people got free Santa photos that we printed for them too. We, at Easter, partnered with the Elks in town to help them run an Easter egg hunt, and then we partnered with them again to be Santa for families in need. Right? So some of the families in town that don't have the ability to give their kids a gift on Christmas morning were able to actually have gifts for their kids on Christmas morning. We got to be Santa. That's just fun. We also had a foster care information night. I'm going to throw it under them. A foster care information night. Again, meeting a need that our community has. Of just trying to help people understand what foster care is and how you can be involved in trying to help those who are in need, help children that are in need. And they did all of this with a 10-member team. 10 people. Right? This year, as far as our what we call C2, which is our Sunday morning events, let me get that first slide. We had 617 unique people come through with Bay State in the past year. Okay? 2023, there were 281. Right? That's awesome. That's a massive amount of growth. Right? That's encouraging. But I also want to challenge you of where are they? Because there's not 600 people here this morning. So again, one gauge is saying we're doing great, but why didn't they come back? So that's something we need to look at. Right? Why aren't people coming back? We had this past year we had 50 guests actually give us all of their contact information so we can add them into our database and reach out to them and connect with them. Christmas, our Christmas Eve service, we had 130 people at Christmas Eve, right? We started a new thing this year of when people pray and ask Jesus to be their Savior, we ask them to come up and kind of, again, not to call you out or make fun of you, or not make fun of you, no. Not to call you out or embarrass you, but we started a gift box for people that make that decision of we're going to give you a Bible, we're going to give you a little devotional to get you started, we're going to give you a little note card in there so you can write down the date and remember the day that you got saved and have that memory. So we have that box that we started this year. This past year, we've since starting that this year, we've given out 6 of those boxes. Yep. That's 6 people who've made a decision. We've baptized a couple of different times. We had 4, I think, that we baptized. I was trying to figure it out. We didn't keep great track of it. So I know we had at least 4 that we baptized. Stephen, is that you did it? So was it 4? Okay. Yep. Sure. All right. Right. So we have 4 people actually take their faith and make it public. Right. That's a huge step of faith. Nearly every week in 2024, we had more people than we did in 2023. Show me that next one. Okay, so this is our next view. Right, so these are actually all, and I actually have a dashboard on in our sort of our software that I can just click on the dashboard and I see all of these graphics and more. This is so blue is last year and the orange is this year, and we had a couple of spikes from events where we kind of double count people a little bit. We did multiple services on Easter and we double counted people. I don't know what happened in July there. I have to look into that one. But huge, almost every week was bigger. All right? Not, again, as you can see, last week, not so much. Right? But just about every week was bigger than it was in 2023. Our average attendance, average Sunday morning attendance in 2024 was 102 people. It's pretty good. In 2023, we had 89 was our average Sunday. So again, we're growing, right? We're more people are coming on a Sunday. In 2022, it was 72. So again, we're seeing big growth in our attendances on Sunday morning. So Sunday morning's growing. We do this thing. Our C3 is kind of our educational groups. We do what we call circles. Because we believe that more growth happens in circles than it does in rows. So if you want to grow, you want to get closer to people, you want to build community, you're going to get together in a circle and you're going to share with each other instead of being lectured to or preached to on a Sunday morning. Right? You're not going to grow that much on a Sunday morning. Yes, I'm giving you information. I'm not saying you're not going to grow, but you're not going to grow as quickly than if you're in a circle. And so we have circles. In 2023, we had 54 people in a circle, okay? Versus 74 last year. Okay? But what did we not focus on in 2024? We didn't put a focus on circles. And so guess what we're going to focus on in 2025? Circles, right? There you go. Right? So in 2025, we're launching some circles. We're launching opportunities for you to grow. I mean, how many? When I mentioned we have a faith path, how many of you knew we had a faith path? Okay, exactly. That's why we didn't grow in circles, because we didn't do a great job communicating that we have a path for you to grow along. And so we're doing that next year. Evan talked to you about our membership class. That's step one, right? And so I'm not saying you can't join a circle if you haven't gone to the membership class, but that's going to be that first step along that growth path. And like you said, if you've been here for 25 years or 25 minutes, this is the class for you. But we're going to start moving you along that. We're actually bringing on someone whose purpose is going to be education and developing you and helping you grow spiritually. So that's going to be a big focus for 2025, is because we're trying to grow that. And our C4 team, we opened up opportunities for people to get involved in serving. And not counting people who showed up on a single time. I mean, I'm going to pick on Eddie for a second. I mean, Eddie showed up to Yankee Doodle Parade, to serve at Yankee Doodle Parade, with a bunch of his friends from work. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's just fun. But in 2024, we actually had 58 people involved on a recurring basis serving in church in some capacity, whether it was helping you find a parking spot, running our tech booth, serving in the band, teaching in farmland, helping parents with check-in, serving in the nursery so that the parents who have babies can come and worship without worrying about their kids, or whether it was being involved in our follow-up teams, connection teams, security, outreach teams, leading a circle. 58 people. That's 12 more people this past year actively serving in ministry than we had last year. Last year we had 46. Right? So we've opened up opportunities for you to be involved in the ministry. Because the ministry is not just the pastors, it's you. So we had huge growth there. Now, Sunday morning, we don't normally talk about money, but I do want to give you a little bit of encouragement about giving. This past year, we actually had 9 new people sign up for online giving. Okay, the graphic there? Nope, the other one. Do we not have the other one? Ruh-roh. So we had 9 new people sign up for online giving. That's giving through our app or through our website. We had 9 new people. I talked to Brian McGrath, who manages the books and accounting for us. There was 2 others who signed up that started giving via through like bill pays or through the offering box in the back of the room. So we had 11 new people for the first time decided to give to the church. Right? Still working on it. So we had a big growth there. Right? So that's awesome. That's a huge step of faith to start giving, whether it's tithing, supporting missionaries, or just giving to one of our love offerings when we have somebody in, or supporting specific events that we have going on. So it's just a big step of faith for someone to finally to say, you know what, I'm ready to start giving financially to the church and supporting what we do. On the graphic that you can't see. We just the online giving, we've had about $15,000 more this year than we did last year. Okay? That's more ministry that we can do. That's more people that we can reach. That's more involvement that we can step out into the community and make our presence known in the community so that people can see us. Because when the bottom falls out and people's lives start falling apart around them, they're going to look for some help. And what they're going to look for and remember is the churches that they saw being a part of the community that they're already in love with. So I had an awesome opportunity the other day. There's someone in town that's struggling and going through, and life hit them. And their mom, who lives on the other side of the country, said, you need to talk find a pastor in the area and talk to him. So he reached out to us because he's seen us in the community. And so I actually got to talk to this guy yesterday and try and encourage him and invite him to church and just spend some time just loving on somebody who's hurting. because we've been able to be involved in community. Not happening? Nope. Nope, 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 nope. All right, so let's show the other one. So this is over the last couple of years of what's happened in our online giving. And again, I'm not tracking, I don't have access to the who's and the what's, but this is the graph of this is just over the last 2 years. As you can see, our giving's growing. So our giving's growing. So again, like I said, we can do more ministry. We can reach more. We can be more involved. We can step out and have a more active ministry and a more active part in the community when we have people who are faithfully giving to the church. And then this past year, we celebrated our 25th anniversary as a church. All right? For a quarter of a century, we've been here. Not here, but we've been in this, right? What have we been here? 10 years in this building? 2014. Yeah, 2014. We've been in this building for a decade. And it's amazing that we've grown community. People look to us, and now we have a reputation in the community. When I talk to people around town, I tell them, I go to Bay State, like, the church with the water? That's us, right? Because they know us for giving out the waters at Yankee Doodle. They know us for the free hot dogs that we do when 3A is not under construction. We give out the hot dogs. We just want to be a part of community and meet people's needs. And so we have that reputation now in the community of being a church that cares about people. And so 2024, we spent a huge focus on connections, right? Just getting connected with other people. And so 2025, and I don't know why this thing is not cooperating with me today. 2025, we're going to focus on you. Right? 2025, we're going to kind of shift the focus a little bit because our gauges have shown us that we need to focus on helping you grow. Because as we grow you can reach more people. You'll be more comfortable with sharing your faith with your friends and your coworkers and those that are far from it. Because I can't reach your friends. Now I can give them a message on a Sunday morning, but they're not gonna come unless you've invited them. And if you're not living a life that's focused on Christ, they may be looking at your life and going, well, if you have that Sunday morning faith and not that Monday morning faith, they might look at you and be like, okay, why would I want that? So we want to help you grow so that you can reach those that are close to you. So at New Year's, we have this awesome thing that we do. We reset the odometer, right? So everybody who's like over 40 was like, yeah, I remember having to push that button on my instrument cluster. And everybody who's probably under 40 is like, do what? So we reset that odometer back to 0, right? We reset the gauges and we start the year fresh. We wipe the slate clean and we start over. We start making New Year's resolutions, right? New year, new me. I'm gonna change next year. I'm gonna be better than I was last year. Maybe your goals are, what I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna join that gym. Maybe you're kind of going into the next year going, wow, I way overspent on Christmas and I have no idea how I'm ever going to pay for this and get out of debt. We have FPU for that. Starts in February. Rob's excited about that because he teaches that. Maybe your goal for 2025 is I want to give more. And I'm not just talking about money. Maybe it's your time. I want to give more of my time to the things that are important, to things that matter. Maybe your goal is, hey, I want to go back to school. Maybe I want to start that next degree. Maybe I want to finish that degree that I started and walked away from. Or maybe it's just I want to appreciate the things that I have. I want to appreciate the people that are around me. Right? Those are all noble goals for New Year's resolutions. Sometimes we set resolutions because I want to feel better about me. right? I'm definitely losing weight makes me feel better. Sometimes we set them because we set goals because we actually want to be better people, right? So Paul, in the book of Romans, actually gave us a list of awesome resolutions, things that we should change about ourselves, things that we should look for. And he also gave us reasons behind them. And so he wrote these in Romans 12. And just for context, in the book of Romans, so Romans is written to a church in Rome of people who were primarily not Jewish, of Jewish backgrounds. They didn't necessarily have all of the religious indoctrination. So it's a pretty practical book. And he starts in the previous chapter, he's going through and explaining a bunch of the revelations that God had made to Israel and how they applied to Israel and the nation of Israel. And he ends chapter 11 just by explaining how Israel had rejected the message of Christ, and because of that rejection, that opened the door for us, Gentiles, people who are not Jewish, to have an invitation to the gospel, to the good news of Jesus. And so, again, writing to the church in Rome, he opened chapter 12 with this, beginning in Romans 12, 1. He says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living sacrifice, a living and holy sacrifice, the kind that he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect." So why do we give ourselves to God? So, for all of those reasons that Paul outlined back in chapter 11, right? So he talked about Elijah, the prophet Elijah, in the Old Testament, who Elijah was a prophet of God, and he complained to God that there was no one left, that everyone had fallen away, and he complained to God. He said, "You know what? The whole nation's fallen away from you, God. Just destroy them all." And God spared the people. King David complained to God about the people, right? And yet God still spared them. The Jews in the New Testament in Jesus' time rejected Jesus, and he still offered them salvation, and he opened it up to us as well because of that. Okay? So those are that's the why, right? He's given us these reasons in previous chapters of opportunities for us to become followers of Jesus. He gives us this opportunity to present our bodies as a living sacrifice, a holy sacrifice, the kind of sacrifice that God finds acceptable. Because sometimes we want to worship Jesus the way we want to worship Jesus, not necessarily the way that Jesus wants us to worship him. We fall into this idea of well, that's just not, you know, I'm not going to go to church because it's just really not that important. I'm going to join the universal church. It hasn't met yet. You know, we need to be a part of a local church. We need to be a part of a community that leads others to Jesus. And certainly that word sacrifice is a painful one, right? We don't like the word sacrifice. In Webster's dictionary, it's termed some of the definitions are to suffer a loss, to destroy, to end. That's kind of the modern ones, but if you go back, some of the older definitions of what sacrifice are, it's to surrender for the sake of someone or something else. Right? So we think of sacrifice. Don't think about, I can't do this because of whatever. But no, I'm not going to do that because of whatever. So it's not my personal convictions. I don't drink. I can't drink because I'm a Christian. No, I don't drink because I come from a family of alcoholics. And I don't want to cause problems with my family where someone who struggles with that sees me doing it. right? I mean, I had an uncle who I watched his whole life fall apart, and he lost everything because of his alcoholism. And he turned his life around, and he actually wound up running the 12-step house down the street for a number of years before he passed. But I'm not going to be involved in that. I'm making that sacrifice, which I've been doing it so long, it's not sacrifice for me anymore. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to cause someone else to stumble or fall. That's a sacrifice that I make. I love animals, and kind of falling into kind of an example of are we serving Jesus, or are we are we expecting him to serve us? And I know Vicky's going to come to me afterwards and say, well, I have a cat that my cat comes and calls. I used to have a cat, and we called her Missy. Well, at the vet we called her Missy, the vet's name, but we called her Silly Miss Silly Fat Cat because she was obese. And now Missy never knew her name, and part of that was our problem because we called her so many different names. But the cat never came when called, right? The cat would show up when she felt like it. When you walk in the door, she might lift her head and look at you, but she would never come running. When she wanted attention, she would come to you and let you pet her. And when she was done with you petting her, she would let you know. Okay? When she wanted to go outside, she would take her claws and pull chunks of wood out of the door frames. And I still have evidence of that in my house. And on rare occasions, she would come to you and show some love and affection to you. But usually, it was because you had food. Now, I also have a dog. Now, my dog, her name's Pumpkin, and you call Pumpkin, and she comes running. I say the word heel, and she's right here. When I get up in the morning, now, in my house, Andrea typically gets up before me and closes the bedroom door, so the dog leaves me alone in the morning. But she will go get breakfast, and then she will sit and lay by the door to the bedroom until I get up, because she wants to be with me. She also answers to the words "beat it, broad" when she's lying in our bed, and I'm trying to go to bed, and I can't get in because she's holding up. I just say "beat it, broad," and off she goes, gets down so I can get in. When I'm working from home, she comes upstairs and sits on the couch in my office because she wants to be near me. When she brings me a toy and drops it at my feet, if I throw it, she goes and gets it and brings it back to me again. When she wants to go outside, she has a button that she'll press, and we'll go and let her outside. Sometimes she lets herself back in, which can terrify you if you're not expecting her to open the door handle and let herself inside. And one of the things about my dog is she hates people touching her feet. Hates it. But if I tell her to give me a paw, she'll do it. And you can tell by the look on her face she hates it. But she does it. She's obedient. She gives up her personal comfort in order to please someone that she loves. Both of those are a symbol of our relationships with Jesus. Because sometimes we treat faith in Jesus like we're a cat. We go to him when we need something, when we want him to do something for us, we go to prayer. And sometimes we treat Jesus like a dog, like we're the dog. So not like we don't treat him. Hopefully, we don't treat him like a dog, but we treat him like we're the dog. We take that faith where we love others, we sacrifice for others, we share our faith, and we want to just be close to him in everything that we do. And so what I want to encourage you is to try and be like the dog. Be loving, be caring. sharing your faith. In the passage this morning, it said, don't copy the world, but instead let God transform you. The word that's used here is the Greek word metamorphosis. Okay? We use that sometimes we talk about a caterpillar going into its chrysalis and emerging as a butterfly. But the goal, the actual word, and actually it's actually a compound word in Greek, and I didn't write down what the two words, but it's literally the compound words is beyond shape or beyond form. So you're moving beyond the form that you were into something that's new, right? Being transformed. It's kind of like a renovation, right? If you've ever renovated a room in your house, right? You take what it used to be, you rip it apart, and you rebuild it into something new, something better. And that's why we need goals, right? We need goals on spiritual growth. We need goals to help us track where we've been. So as a church, right, we have a mission as a church, right? Our mission as a church is to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ, right? That's our mission. If you didn't know that, that's shame on us for not sharing that, but I'm pretty sure we try and say that a lot because we want everyone to understand that that is our mission as a church. We want to lead people in a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. So what's your mission? Right? What do your goals look like? So do you want to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ? Now, as a church, when we look at our individual ministries, we take that mission, then we add the word by. And then that's how that ministry, that part of the church meets that mission of trying to lead people in a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. And I'll take the nursery as an example. Okay? That's an easy one. Right? How can the nursery lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ? Right? Nursery leads people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ by providing an environment where parents feel comfortable leaving their children so that they can go and worship. Right? So if you want to be involved in creating an environment where parents can feel comfortable worshiping, nursery would love to have some additional workers. Little plug. But what are your goals, right? So your goals for your personal life. So how can you, as a person, as an individual, lead people in a growing relationship with Jesus Christ this year? Maybe you want to take that word and say, I want to lead people to a growing relationship with Jesus Christ by being a better representative of Him in the world. Right? So maybe that's your personal mission for 2025. And if that's your goal, if you want to be a better representative of Christ, now you can take the practicals of what does that mean? That means I need to share my faith. That means I need to pray, not just for me, but for others. That means I need to spend time in His Word. That means I need to be involved in my church, involved in my community. Right? So this is kind of practical. But you also need to be accountable. Right? So I showed you that data, all the data from the church, because if it was just me tracking it and just me paying attention to it, am I accountable to anybody? No. Who am I accountable to with all of that data? To you. Right? So as a church, as a leadership team, we're accountable to you because we can encourage you to bring people every Sunday, right? Which we've been doing. But if we don't deliver on our part of the deal, we fail. Right? If we show up and come in on a Sunday morning and we've got a band that hasn't practiced, we've got someone who's filling the pulpit that's just getting up here and winging it. Right? We forget to turn the heat on. Right? Is that going to fulfill our end of that deal? No. We have accountability to you. So we use those gauges to track where we are, where we've been, and figure out where we need to make tweaks, what levers we need to pull, and where we need to make adjustments. Because as we looked at that, right, we had a huge growth in the first number of people who came here once. But we need to adjust what happened. Did we not follow up? What was it that caused them to not come back? That's a massive increase in the number of people who came. but they didn't come back. Why not? So we need to figure that out. Circles. Circles shrunk this year. We need to adjust that because we didn't focus on it. So we're going to focus on that next year. We're going to make that a priority in order to help people grow, help you move along that growth track. For those of you that are here today on your individual thing, hey, that's awesome you're here. I am so glad that you decided to call Bay State your home on a Sunday morning. It's encouraging. I love it. How many of us are involved in a circle? And I'll tell you right now, I'm not preaching to you because I'm not involved in a circle right now. And that's going to change next year. Right? So, you're not the only one. So we need to move along. Are you serving regularly? Are you a part of the church? And these are all things that we're going to talk about and I'm not trying to steal the thunder from the membership class, right? But one of the things that we're going to do is at the membership class is we're going to talk about what it means to be Bay State, what it means to wear the Bay State jersey. And so I really encourage you to come because we're resetting the baselines, right? Like, how many of you have been here for more than a year and don't have a full, complete grasp on what it means to be Bay State? Right? Like, we throw out a lot of stuff. Maybe we don't know all of the ins and outs of what's expected. I had a question from somebody the other day when we were talking about church membership, and they're like, well, if I come to the church but I don't join and become a member, does that mean I can't come anymore? No. We'd love to have you here. We love having people who are on all walks of faith, all aspects of the journey. But the membership class is to help you understand if you want to move along in that faith journey and become a member of the church. We just want you to have an expectation of this is what we expect. This is what it means to be a member, to be on our team. Some of your personal gauges. What's your mission? What's your goals? Have you written it down? Just so you can have a remembrance of what I said as goals. It's kind of a challenge for you. When was the last time you prayed and just thanked God for the things that He's done for you, instead of asking Him to do something new? When was the last time you invited a friend to church? Right? What gauges do you have? What numbers what things are you tracking in your life to see your own spiritual growth? And maybe you just don't know where to start. And so in verses 9 of that passage that we looked at, from verses 9 to 21 in chapter 12, Paul gives this list of things to do. And the awesome thing about Paul is he's super practical. Is he doesn't be like, hey, stop doing this. He says, stop doing this, do this instead. And so he gives this list of things of where you can start. And these are maybe some suggestions of maybe you want to build some resolutions for next year. You want to start your gauges, start your goals, build your gauges. Here's some of the things from verses 9 to 21, and I'm not going to go through all of it. But some of the things Paul says: love others. That's hard. Hold tight to what is good. Honor other people. Work hard at serving God. This one's a challenge. Be patient. Keep praying for yourself and for others. Practice hospitality. Hospitality is so huge. Live peaceably with others. Right? This is just some of that list that he goes through, and he very practical. And so what I want to do this morning is that I ask that you close your eyes, bow your heads. We're going to have a little invitation time. And I want to first talk to those of us who would say, you know what, I'm saved. I know I've put my faith in Jesus. I can point to a time where I made that decision to follow Christ. And so, like I said, we're resetting the odometer for next year. And so whether you've been here for, like Evan said, 25 years or 25 minutes, you need to take that next step of faith for you is taking that membership class next week. That's that first step. That's that next step we want you to take if you put your faith in Jesus. We're going to talk about what it means to be here, what it means to be a part of us. What I'd also ask you to do is I'd ask you to pray for me, because I'm not perfect. And I still need, I need to grow in my faith as well. And I still continue to grow. As an old-time pastor said, the problem with being a living sacrifice is the sacrifice keeps crawling off the altar. So we have to intentionally rededicate ourselves every now and again. And maybe you're here and you're like, you know what? I'm new to this church thing. I can't say, I don't know what, when you say saved, I have no idea what that means. And I want to tell you, I did that for about a year. When I started going to church, I heard them talk about being saved, and I had no idea what the word saved meant. And I was too afraid to ask until finally my youth pastor pulled me aside one Wednesday night and said, hey, do you want to put your faith in Jesus? And I said yes. And so if that's you this morning, I want to give you an opportunity to do that today. And I'd ask you to do this, just something along these lines. And there's nothing magic in the words. It's just you doing business with God, you talking to God this morning. I'd ask you to say, Jesus, I give you my life. Jesus, I give you my life. If that's you this morning, if you made that decision, we'll be up at the front here. We'll have one of those boxes, one of those salvation boxes for you, and we'll talk to you a little bit more about what that decision means and help you get started on your journey with Jesus this morning. Stephen's going to come up here and give some announcements. I'm just going to pray real quick for you. Father God, thank you so much for our church. God, I pray that in 2025 that we would continue to grow, to love you, to serve you, God, that we would see people take bold steps of faith this coming year. God, that help us to focus on the things that you want us to focus on and remember the importance of what you've put before us. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.